Well, hello there, watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. Time then to see what's making the headlines with the political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, and The Sun's deputy political editor, Kate Ferguson. They will be with us from now until just before midnight. Welcome to both of you. So as ever, to the front pages, starting with The Guardian. It says the jubilation at the Lionesses' victory in the European Football Championships is echoing around the nation. Referring to their onstage choreography in Trafalgar Square today, the Metro calls the teams dancing queens. World at their feet is how The Sun puts it. Meanwhile, The Telegraph reports on the endorsement of Liz Truss by her former rival, Penny Mordaunt. The paper also carries an editorial on its front page, giving its support to the Foreign Secretary. The Express has Ms Truss once again setting out her stall as to why she is the best candidate to deal with taxes. The Daily Mail zeroing in on her plan to ditch so-called junk food tax. The Eye hears the retentions between some Tory MPs and the outgoing Prime Minister. Apparently they believe Boris Johnson is a narcissist, while he believes them to be neurotic. The Times reporting that British Airways has suspended sales of short-haul flight tickets from Heathrow in another blow to already frustrated holidaymakers. The international edition of the Financial Times has word of US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's intention to meet the Taiwanese president, despite China's warning that doing so would result in repercussions for the American government. And on a very different note, and I'm not sure what note at all, if I'm frank with you, The Star has the story of a pony that was elected the mayor of his town, then banned from the local pub. Who knows what that is about? Nightmare, it says. Anyway, a reminder that by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers while you watch us. So let us go then to our guests, Kevin Schofield and Kate Ferguson. Kevin, enjoying the Star's front page? At least you did, anyway. But let's start with you then, Kevin. The Guardian, everyone is buzzing. The Lionesses' victory echoes around the nation. What scenes and what an achievement?
An incredible achievement, and I think we'll probably look back in years to come as this being base camp, really, I think, for the women's game in this country. The inspiration, I think, that their victory will provide for lots of young girls, young women now going forward, and so who knows where the women's game will be in 10, 15, 20 years' time. I've got two daughters myself. They're not massive football fans, but they were whooping and cheering yesterday watching the game, which is just fantastic, and if that was replicated all over the country, not just England but across the whole of the UK, then I think the future is very bright for the women's game right across this country.
And they've proved so much, haven't they, Kate? First of all, how fantastic women's football is at that level, that they can fill a stadium despite being in smaller grounds around the country often, and inspiring people everywhere, young children to, people who find that women who are not doing sport anymore, as we saw in a report just over a week ago.
Yeah, exactly. I think the whole country was watching yesterday, weren't they, as we finally won a final. I think Kevin's right. I think this could be a huge turning point for the women's game. There's this stat that's been trotted out quite a lot this week, which certainly rings true with me, which is I think it's about half of secondary school girls don't even get offered football PE lessons. I know I wasn't offered football PE lessons at school. We had to go after school in year 7 to do football. So hopefully this will be a real turning point, not just in watching women's football. Hopefully it will get more people down the stadiums watching it regularly, but also crucially playing it. Because for so long, like when we grow up, young girls are out in the park with their brothers and sisters playing kickabout, aren't they? But once you get into school, it becomes really segregated and very gender specific. And I think if this gets more girls and women into football, then it's a hugely good thing.
Kate, Kevin, stay there. We'll come back with more on the Conservative leadership hustings, but we have some breaking news. President Joe Biden is set to address the nation after what is being described, or the White House says, was a successful counter-terrorism operation on an al-Qaeda target in Afghanistan over the weekend. Let's get some more from our US correspondent, Mark Stone. Who do they say they got there, Mark?
Well, sources here in Washington are saying that it is the al-Qaeda leader, Ayman al-Zawahiri. If that is correct, then this is the most significant counter-terrorism operation, as the Americans are calling it, since the death of Osama bin Laden back whenever it was, a few years back. My mind escapes me at the moment. But this is a very, very significant announcement, that much certainly being made clear by the White House, who've said that the president will address the nation at 7:30 local time. That's 12:30 your time. Tonight, so in a couple of hours' time. They say only at the moment that a counter-terrorism operation has taken place in Afghanistan, that it took place over the weekend. And our colleagues at NBC News are saying that two sources that they have spoken to have said that it was a drone strike over the weekend and that it killed the top al-Qaeda leader, Ayman al-Zawahiri, an Egyptian man, a man who took over from Osama bin Laden when he was killed, and a man who has eluded capture ever since he was wanted for the bombings, not in New York, but back in 1998, the bombings of the American embassy in Nairobi and also in Dar es Salaam. Involvement in that prompted him to be on the FBI's most wanted list. Of course, he was a very senior al-Qaeda figure in 2001 during 9/11. Number two to Osama bin Laden, and for the years since Osama bin Laden has been dead, Ayman Zawahiri has been the al-Qaeda leader. So a very, very significant announcement that we're expecting from the White House in a couple of hours' time.
Yeah, 12:30. Mark, thank you very much indeed with that breaking news. Thank you. Well, let's return then to Kevin, to Kate. The Tory hustings, as I said, they are in the other papers, are they not? Not least the Daily Telegraph. Kate, why don't you pick up on this one? Now Penny Mordaunt deciding to declare for Liz Truss, and so it seems the Daily Telegraph too.
Yeah, this is obviously big news. So tonight we had the latest in the Tory hustings where Rishi's facing off against Liz. And Liz, the massive favourite to win the contest now. She wheels out another big beast, Penny Mordaunt, to support her. Now, Penny, viewers will remember, became third in the contest. And I think actually for political viewers like Kevin and I, it was a bit of a surprise that we saw her coming out today. We didn't know she was going to be endorsing Liz. And the end of that contest had got pretty bitter between Penny's team and some of Liz Truss's backers. So it is interesting that Penny has thrown her lot in behind Truss. You see now that Truss is the overwhelming favourite to get the keys to number 10. She's had a host of cabinet big beasts come out in favour of her. Lots of press obviously backing her. Her message on cutting taxes immediately is going down incredibly well with Tory activists. And I think the big question really is, can Rishi stop this train, this train of Truss? Is this kind of unstoppable at this stage?
Yes, and there's the Daily Express as well. Liz Truss, I'm the real deal on tax. And in the latest hustings that we saw, Kevin, you know, Rishi Sunak was asked about that, was he not? And he made the point that the national insurance changes were there to try to save social care, and ultimately, you know, money will go to the NHS. But, you know, asked directly about the fact that people are not being cared for. Does he need to switch his campaign to that, do you think? I mean, you know, how can he save himself now, I suppose I'm asking?
It's going to be very, very difficult, I think. I mean, he has, in the last week, he's shifted a bit on tax. You know, at first he was saying, you know, we're not going to start cutting taxes until the country can afford it, until we've got inflation under control. Then last week he said he would take VAT off energy bills for a year. And then last night came the big announcement that he plans to cut income tax from 20p in the pound to 16p in the pound by the end of the next Parliament, so that's 2029. So he's tacked a little bit further to the right on the economy in a bid to try and claw back this big lead that Liz Truss has got, because, you know, her position has been, as you say, very clear from the very beginning, that as soon as she's in the door at number 10, she will begin cutting taxes. Now, he has criticised that strongly, but I think he's looking at the same opinion poll numbers as the rest of us and realises that what he's been saying originally wasn't working, so he's had to shift. I'm not sure how credible it would be for him to shift even more in terms of tax or to U-turn any more on things that he said on the economy up until now. I think he's just got to stick to this strategy that he's got now of saying that he is a tax-cutting Conservative, but he will only do it when he thinks that the economy can afford it. Whereas Liz Truss, he says, it's taking a huge risk with inflation, people's mortgages, interest rates going up. And that, I think, is just going to be the message that he's going to keep hammering home for the next few weeks. But it does look, certainly with all these endorsements, that Liz Truss is getting. Penny Mordaunt tonight, a very, very big one for her. I just think it's looking increasingly unlikely that he'll manage to come out on top.
Yeah, that was all in Exeter. Back here, a reminder of Thursday night, Kay Burley, 8 p.m, will be hosting a special programme with the two candidates, the Battle Thought number 10. So do stay tuned to that, latest on what we hear from them and, you know, how they try to push their own campaigns forward. Meanwhile, back at the mothership at Westminster, in the eye, goodness me, Boris Johnson's blame game, neurotic Tory MPs clash with narcissist PM. What is going on, Kate?
Yeah, I mean, certainly Boris was leaving number 10 with rocky relationships, to say the least, with some of his backbenchers. This is the splash of the eye, which is talking about how Boris blames some of his 2019 intake for his downfall. We know, don't we, that lots of those red wallers did play a part in that no confidence vote that brought Boris Johnson down. He's hitting out at them, apparently, or friends of the PM is hitting out at them. They hit back saying he's a narcissist. It's all a little bit ugly, isn't it? We've got quite used to this blue on blue war in this Tory leadership contest. But certainly things are still quite bitter and raw, I think, between the current number 10 regime and some of those backbenchers. In a way, this is all almost ancient history now, because there's going to be a new leader in number 10 in just a matter of a few weeks. And so, you know, big deal about what they think of each other, really. But yeah, it does go to show that whoever gets the keys to number 10 next has a lot of making up to do within the party, a lot of different factions and wings to bring together.
Does sound so, does it not? Kate, Kevin, stay there. Lots more to discuss, including more on relations, or why relations between the US and China might be about to escalate. Stay with us for that. Well, welcome back. You're watching the press preview. With me now, Kevin Schofield and Kate Ferguson. Welcome back to both of you. Let's go to the Financial Times, Kevin, and this controversial visit from the Speaker of the House of Representatives in America, Nancy Pelosi, to Taiwan, to the anger of China. At this stage, looks to be going ahead. Tell us more.
Yeah, it does. And it's not just the anger of China. There's concern from the White House as well. Officially, she's going on a tour of Asia, and the Taiwan visit is not part of her official itinerary for security reasons. But yeah, apparently it is going ahead tomorrow. She's going to meet the Taiwanese president. Now, the White House are a little bit concerned about this for obvious reasons. They don't want to annoy China unnecessarily. China obviously claims sovereignty over Taiwan, and they have said to America, look, if you try to intervene here, then there will be repercussions. There's even talk in the article about what would happen if the Chinese tried to intercept the US Air Force flight taking Nancy Pelosi and her aides to Taiwan. So, and were that to happen, and clearly that would be a huge escalation. The military would need to intervene to stop it. And yeah, we don't even want to think about that. But yeah, so it's a deeply sensitive issue, to put it mildly, but Nancy Pelosi is seemingly determined to go ahead, and she would be the most senior American politician to visit the country since Newt Gingrich in 1997, which was obviously 25 years ago. So yeah, quite a big deal.
Yeah, Kate, quick 30 seconds on a massive piece of space junk that has landed in the wrong place, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, maybe one of the least reassuring stories in the papers tomorrow. A farmer in the Australian outback has wandered into his farm and found a giant hunk of what was a bit of a SpaceX satellite, which landed in his farm, in his back garden. It's meant to have landed in the ocean safely. So yeah, look out above, I suppose, if you're in the Australian outback.
Yes, and the remains had been orbiting Earth's atmosphere since November 2020. We get our mess everywhere, don't we? Kate Ferguson, Kevin Schofield, thanks to both of you.